It is time right now to welcome in Jason Kreis. Back with RSL this year, working in the front office. Jason, good morning.
Morning, DJ. How we doing?
Good. I can never remember your title, Jason. I'll just apologize up front. I just think of you as guru now. You do a little soccer, you do a little business, you just make the magic happen.
That's right. Director of Operations and Special Projects, just for future knowledge.
I'm going to forget that again, right?
Come on, man. You're not that old.
You'd be surprised. All right, so I'm wondering now if you'll go into the Wayback Machine. People know a lot of the story, but they don't know all of it. I think enough time has passed that now you can tell it. And if you can't, I'm going to be sorely disappointed. Sporting Kansas City is in town for the game Saturday night. That's the game this weekend, right? And a few years ago, you were out of town when they did it. But they ran a promo. RSL ran a promo on our station, and PK's off today, but PK heard the promo. They hate us. We hate them. And he thought that was just way over the top. And I thought, for once, something that seems way over the top might actually be accurate. Because I get why he thought that was over the top. You can line that up with 100 other promotions for 100 other games, and that would be the most over the top. Now, people know there was a press conference with Benny Feilhaber and he was a star player for Kansas City. He'd been on the U.S. national team, and he went right into it, right behind the microphone on camera. He didn't blink, and he talked about how much he despised RSL and how much he looked forward to playing him and beating him. But I don't know that people know the whole backstory behind that. And there was something between him and Kyle in the national team camp, and there was something at a preseason game between the two teams and a brawl in Arizona. I think you were at that brawl in Arizona. Can you tell us about that?
I was. It was the preseason that was leading up to our CONCACAF Champions League run where we made it to the final. So we were probably a few weeks ahead of most of the other teams as far as form and fitness and soccer-wise, and we were absolutely murdering them. It was like 3-0 after 30 minutes. And we get into the second half, and it's early in the second half, and all of a sudden they've got guys flying around, two-footed tackles. I felt like they were almost trying to break Javier's leg, and I just said enough. I went out there, just stopped the entire game and said, we're done. We're done here. We don't need this. I think it's completely disrespectful that you guys are going to, treat us this way when you know that we have a Champions League coming up and an extremely important tournament for us. And it started there. You're right. And I talked to Peter Burmese probably 6 months before that, actually, because he was talking about where Kansas City was and their evolution of their team versus where we were with Real Salt Lake. And he said he had to teach his guys to be very physical first. He had to teach them to fight. So it really shouldn't have come from much of a surprise, but for me it was over the top and unnecessary and unwarranted. And really from that game forward, it was always all of those games were extremely emotional, extremely heated, and extremely physical.
Do you know, this will actually make sense here in a second, do you know who has the most red cards in the history of Major League Soccer? And do you know who has the second most red cards in the history of Major League Soccer?
I do not, no.
Number 1 with 13, Roger Espinoza, longtime Sporting Kansas City player who may or may not have been in the middle of one of those two-footed tackles you were talking about.
He was.
Yeah. And number 2, Hamasan Olave, now an assistant coach at RSL, then a center back who might have possibly been in position to, retaliate a little bit on a certain day in Arizona. He's got 11 red cards all the time.
Yeah, he may have, and that may have been a reason why I stopped it. I didn't want to see our guys change their attitude and get themselves in trouble as well.
Yeah. All right, so all of that is ancient history, but it's fun to fill that in a little bit. And there was a game at Kansas City, and you were gone by then, but there was a game where Benny Feilhaber was dribbling like 35, 40 yards out, straight in front of the goal, attacking. And Kyle got one touch and just a little toe poke and poked the ball away, dispossessed him, pinged a 60-yard ball, I think to Sabo, on the money, and Sabo scored. And the celebration that ensued in the corner in front of, and the goal was scored in front of that the section they call the blue hell down there. It'd be when you're on the bench, it would be off to your left, right? They're pretty crazy down there. The celebration that ensued told me everything I needed to know about how much those two teams loathed each other, because that goal was celebrated. It was a regular season game. It was a great goal. It was a great 10 seconds of action, but that goal was celebrated like they had just beat Messi to win the World Cup.
Yeah, that was really odd between Fellhaber and Beckerman. I never really got to the bottom of what that was. Probably some competition around the national team stuff. I mean, a lot of times you get into some of those camps down the line that they can become really competitive amongst teammates who are supposed to be teammates anyways. So perhaps that was it. But, yeah, those were some crazy years, some crazy times between two teams that really should never have been such heated rivals.
Well, it's a different time now because so many of those players have moved on and the time has passed. And so what's intriguing right now is that RSL is in a really good run of form. I mean, these are the good old days. Unbeaten in 6 in a row, unbeaten in 5 on the road. But the fact is, these streaks tend to come when the schedule gets a little road heavy. And there have been points dropped at home. 4 home games, already 5 points dropped. When you watch the first 5 minutes of this game, what do you want to see or what do you not want to see that'll give you a good idea of whether RSL is going to be, given their best effort, not their best effort, but their best performance, or whether it's going to be, time to bite those fingernails for 90 minutes?
Yeah, DJ, it is something that we've talked about in the offseason, Pablo and I and Kurt. Spent some time really focusing in on how we could make improvements this year, and that was a big area. I mean, truthfully, the home record last year was borderline embarrassing, and something that I just don't understand based upon my time here, based upon the fact that you had the altitude playing in your hands, based upon the fact that we have a good crowd that supports us in a positive way. So it's an area that we're trying to pay some particular attention to. I would say that if we're going to be real about ourselves, I do think we have to be a little bit critical, even at the beginning of the season, that we drop those points, because I just don't think that we should be doing that. I think that we're a good enough team that can perform well enough, that we need to come into those games with a little bit of a different mindset. And in particular, you're right. It's the opening 15 minutes where you really can set the tone with the tempo of the game, with the pressure of your defending that can pay big dividends in the last 30 minutes of those games. So what we'll hope to see a team that comes out with some real intent to get forward early and often, to keep the ball for long stretches and make Kansas City chase. And then when we lose it, they do as they do. That I think is the highlight of this group, is how well they defend and how often they pressurize the opponent.
I'm seeing some things in this team that I haven't seen in a long time that are reminding me of some of your better teams. You had a team, I think it was 2010, the year after you won the MLS Cup, that when you were playing in Champions League, and I think you had to play a half dozen games and fly to Central America 3 times, you only gave up 20 goals in the entire season, which is a league record, which is ridiculous. Like, if you'd given up 40, that would have been a pretty good number. And if you'd given up 30, that would have been awesome. And you gave up 20. I mean, it's mind-blowing to look back at it. And this team isn't there, but this team is tied for the best defense in the league right now. Fewest goals allowed per game. It's 9 goals in 10 games right now, so they're giving up 0.9 goals per game. What do you see in this defense that reminds you of what you saw when your teams were in their prime?
I just think you have it looks to me like a real good team mindset for defending, a real good identification of who the group is. You don't have players out there that aren't putting in a real effort. I feel like everybody is playing their part. Everybody is pulling their weight. And there's I think, really well coached as well about where we want to press and how we want to press and where we want to win the ball back. So I think all those things come together to formulate a picture, as I said, that shows you, hey, this team cares about when they don't have the ball. This team has a real collective energy about it. And it's one of the things that as I watch the group, it probably makes me feel the most proud about who we are and who they are that represents us.
Jason Kreis joining us. I've already forgotten his title, Special Projects and Operations.
Here we go.
Guru. So when I watch Chicho, and he is just, the goals and the assists are just flowing, and I think, well, Sabario's the best attacker. Dami had one season, right? But nobody's put together back-to-back seasons the way Sabario does. And I think Chicho's goal scoring may eclipse what Sabo did. And I don't think Sabo ever came anywhere close to providing this number of assists. He was a finisher. When he got the ball, he was going to the goal. Can you explain Chicho? Is this sustainable? What do you think?
I think he's a special player, and I think he's a special person, which is more important, in my opinion, to the group and how he leads the group and what he does for the group. I think you've got a guy that just can make plays, right? He's just a really, really good soccer player that is physically capable, has speed and strength to hold off players, can do a lot of things. So it's really impressive what he's done so far. And can he sustain it? Absolutely. Absolutely. It just has to continue going on about what he's doing and not get too caught up into anything. I think it's all there for him. And he's surrounded by some good players as well, and that always helps.
Officially, the club had 3 assistant coaches they let go last season and 4 they hired. But now, unofficially, I feel like they have 5, and I feel like Chicho, that leadership you speak of, goes beyond player leadership. I've looked at the way that he looks at Gomez when Gomez doesn't give him the ball or gives him a bad ball, and I've looked at the way he celebrates with Gomez when one of them has the goal and one of them has the assist. And it's worked both ways. One guy's set up the other, and then it's been reversed, right? A Chicho assists Gomez, Gomez assists Chicho. And I look at the way they celebrate together, and I feel like Chicho is like his personal coach / uncle / mentor. Certainly they share a language, and maybe, older Chicho sees a little bit of a younger Chicho and Gomez. Maybe there's something there. Can you speak to their relationship?
I couldn't really speak to the particulars of it, but I would speak to the fact that another area that we were looking at in the off season was how we could get more leadership within the group. Pablo had felt like there was a real lack of leaders in the group. He felt like making Chicho the captain would be really good for the team. I think that was a fantastic decision on his part. One of the big reasons why we added Crooks was to add another experienced player, because there are young players, right? I mean, we were relying on the initial thought was, we had Gomez and we had Luna and we had young central midfield players as well, and then Nelly and Palacio, and so there's all these young players in RSL that need to have veteran leadership around them to lead them on the field, but to also just to show them what it means to be a top-level professional player and to show them what it looks like to have consistency. So really, really pleased that Chicho has taken, I think, a giant step forward. I think Pablo did a great job of identifying that this could be the polarizing figure for the team, and in particular in attack, for guys like Luna, Barajas, Gomez to play off of and to look forward to.
You had to have some flashbacks watching Monterrey get knocked out by the Columbus Crew. The Crew are in the Champions Cup, which we used to call the Champions League. And in 2013, you took RSL all the way to the final and played Monterrey in the final. And as you watch what the Crew do now, both in the quarterfinals and the semifinals, their ability to go to Mexico, give up an own goal, and then win 3-1 and just completely dominate the game. For RSL fans who are thinking, this RSL fan looks as good or maybe better than anything I've seen in a long time, if not ever, but I watch what the Crew is doing, and you know how hard it is because you tried to do that, and the bar is really raised as far as if they want to go deep in the playoffs. The league is getting so much better. You have to get better just to stay in place.
Yeah, there's zero doubt about that, DJ. I mean, gosh, when I watch Columbus play, I'm a big fan. I just got to be honest. I'm a big fan of Wilfred Nancy, what he's done. I coached against him when he was at Montreal, coached against him for a year when he was at Columbus, and he just has a very, very clear identity on how he wants the team to play, and he does an amazing job of getting his players to go out and demonstrate that. So I think the league is obviously in a much different place than it was when we made our CCL run. Columbus is, I think, obviously extremely highly talented team. That if you just looked at the dollars and cents that's spent on that team versus the Real Salt Lake of 2011, whatever it was, it's night and day, right? And also there's something to be said about the door has been broken down. When we were making our run, it had never been done before. And frankly, nobody thought you could ever go to Mexico and even get a result. And so for us to go there and get that draw down there, that was a huge moment, not just for us, but for the league. And since then, the Seattles of the world that went there and won it, and there's been many, many teams that have gone down there and competed and got points and got wins. And so that stigma just doesn't exist anymore. And you can see it. Columbus doesn't go down there with any sort of hesitation or feeling like, oh, what a massive challenge in front of us. For them, it's just another game against another opponent that happens to be not in their stadium. So, huge credit to what they're doing. And as I said, I'm a big fan.
Well, those runs come, if it's going to happen for ourselves somewhere down the road now, immediately the ability to have a U.S. Open Cup run, right when the MLS schedule is getting heavy. I don't know how many people have looked ahead, but I just did. And if RSL beats New Mexico on Wednesday in their first Open Cup game, then that's going to mean that RSL plays every Saturday and every Wednesday for a month. It's going to mean 9 games, I think, now in 29 days. I mean, that's an outrageous, especially when you've had 4 center backs hurt. Does the club have the depth to handle that, or are they going to have to, run some Monarchs out there for some of these games?
I think that question is going to be answered. I don't have an answer for you right now. The answer that I can give you for sure is that we are looking at that Open Cup and saying this is a tournament and an opportunity for us to win a trophy. So we are handling it extremely seriously. It has never been done in this club before. It is an opportunity for Pablo and for that team out there to do something that has never been done before, plain and simple. And so, why not put your absolute best foot forward there? Why not take it very seriously and go out there and get the win next week against New Mexico?
I guess the answer a lot of people would be screaming, RSL fans in their car, would be, well, because we don't have enough guys and we're in first place in the league and we got to prioritize that because MLS Cup is what people really care about.
Yeah, I mean, it's to say that is obviously a bit naive and not knowing exactly who else we have that's available, right? I mean, we still have a lot of players in our first team that won't be starting on Saturday night that have the opportunity to then start on Wednesday night. And these are guys that we believe in. And there are difficult decisions being made every single week about who's going to be in that starting lineup. So there will be some rotation for sure, but this is not going to be a scenario where we're going to be putting out Monarchs and Academy players for the Open Cup.
I think that is music to people's ears right there. They love hearing that. All right, well, Jason, we appreciate a few minutes. I want you to get back to full-on special operations and guru mode. And I got one thing. Maybe I've talked to other people about this, and everybody agrees, yeah, that'd be a good idea, but nobody makes it happen. And maybe you're the guy who can. You, if I remember correctly, when the Believe anthem came out, you just gave it the full-throated endorsement. You loved it. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So one thing I saw traveling to sports events and MLS, but also Major League Baseball, is that it's also the music during the game, and most importantly, the energy. I was told this when I went door to door for a job in college. The energy people have when they leave the job is the energy they bring back to the job the next time they're there. It's a very Zen thing. I think Pablo would sign off on it in a hurry. It totally sounds like something Pablo would say, right?
You have to use the word universe, though.
You do have to use the word universe. But there's no music at the end. Now, they do the plant the flag thing, so that's good, right? There's supporters who like that. But what is the song they play that everyone's singing when they live? Minnesota does it, right? They're up there singing Wonderwall. Yeah. They got their thing. Like when RSL wins at home, what is the song? I think everybody knows that when you file out of Yankee Stadium, you hear New York, New York after a win. And Yankee fans carry that back to the subway. And so for a manager, a head coach who believes in the universe, and for a club who's halfway there with their own song that the fans clearly love to get up and sing, right? And you've got an owner who I have heard out of Ryan Smith's own mouth multiple times. He has said the experience. And what he means, he doesn't say this part, but what he implies in this part is you can't win all the games. We know that. But the experience always has to be good. The experience when you walk into Disneyland before you get on your first ride, it's the gates, it's that grassy green hill, the train is up there. You walk down Main Street before you ever get on one of the rides, you're already getting into the zone. So I keep thinking this ought to happen, but it hasn't happened. Maybe you're the guy who can make it. I don't know what the song is either.
DJ, you sound like you're passionate about this.
I
Would I be
honestly
right?
talk, and if you talk to
it's
Tony,
hard to understand.
I brought this up with Tony Beltran once when he was writing that the book of the club and everything. I'm like, shouldn't that be a thing? He goes, yeah, you're right. That should be a thing. But it hasn't.
Yeah.
You know, there were 100 things to do, and the song was, you know, honestly, it was either 98, 99, or 100.
You know what this sounds like? This sounds like a special project.
For the special operations guy, you, not me. I have ideas. Other people execute them. I'm just the idea guy.
I love it. I'm on it.
Yeah. Plus, you don't want me anywhere near music. Trust me, you don't. I have zero.
I'm not the best with that either.
Yeah, I have zero gifts in that area for sure. So, all right, Jason, you can work on that. One day, there'll be a victory, and we'll hear music, and we'll know that you made the magic happen.
Yes, but you'll know the idea came from you.
Okay, we'll remember that. We'll be the only two who remember that. Maybe Christian will remember.
All right.
It. All right. Hey, thanks, Jason. We appreciate it.
Yep.
Okay.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
There's Jason Kreis, RSL, join us right here on The Zone. I don't know. Does Jason know that your nickname is Chicho? That would have cracked him up. It cracked Pablo
Probably
up.
not.
Yeah. Good work, Chicho. All right, DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Stay with us. Coming up, we've got hockey. We have to learn. I'm looking forward to this. It's a chance to learn a new sport. How much do I know? Inch deep, not even a mile wide, half mile wide. Chance to learn a new sport. I'm picking stuff up. I'm looking forward to it. We're going to learn more coming up at 9:30. Hockey fans, gather around the radio. It's DJ and PK. It's 97.5 The Zone.